What's up? How's it going? Welcome back to another video. So by the title, you probably already know that I'm going to be talking about Hondas and their engines. I am only going to give my opinion on why I think the K20 is one of the best engines that you can buy, especially for your money. And not only that, I'm sure you will all have your own opinion on which K series engine you prefer. But today, I've only got one car that I can talk about, and that's my FN2 Type R, which I do love the car. One thing I would say with these cars is they do require your own input to make them something that's, I would say, tasteful. Out of the box, they are quite a bland to look at car, in my opinion. So yeah, there's a lot that I can say can be improved from the factory, but the heart of the car is what we want to talk about today, which is that lovely engine. Okay, so without boring you too much about these engines, you'll know that they are primarily used in the Honda Civic Type Rs. You will see K20s in the Integra DC5. You'll also see them in the FD2 Civic, which is the JDM 4-door, and you see them obviously in this, which is the FN2, and you'll also see them in your EP3 cars as well. You will also see is that a lot of these engines are now moved into the older B-series cars, so we call them a K-swap. They put them in the older, like the EK Civics, and also we have seen them go into things like that aren't even Honda, like Minis, as well as even Renault Clios. And the reasons why people use these engines, hopefully we'll go through most of those in this video. As you'll see from this video, this car is just a Honda Civic 8th generation, but it is the Type R. Pretty standard in modifications. All it has got is a little bit of black accents on it, i.e. the wheels, handles, and that's about it. Now, looking at it on the outside, you wouldn't really think it was anything special, but when you come up to look under the hood, you'll notice straight away that this does not look like your typical engine that you see day to day. Obviously this is a higher mileage car, so it's not pristine. Yes, it has got a bit of flaking, but I can sort that out at a later time. Now when you kind of look at this, you kind of think to yourself, you know, it looks like it's got some sort of racing look to it. Just without even starting it, you'll notice as well that everything's accessible, and also what you'll notice is that it says VTEC. So VTEC is Honda's kind of cam timing system, which produces a kick around 5,000 RPM just after. You can remap or change the ECUs or the programming to bring the VTEC down, but what VTEC basically is, it's a system that releases this second cam or activates the second cam on these engines and allows you to rev and generate the full potential of the engine. And that is one of the reasons this engine is so famous, that VTEC sound. And you've probably heard the VTEC kicked in yo memes. Right, so VTEC, now let's clear this up. It's not a turbo, it's never meant to be a turbo, but it does give you a kick, and it's a great feeling when you hit it. You can amplify it by just changing exhaust and also your air intake. HKS intakes do make VTEC kick sound incredible, almost like just some sort of beast. What I love about VTEC is it's predictable. You know, you get to the revs that you need to get to and it kicks in. There's no guessing, there's no turbo lag, there's no kind of mistake that it's not going to be there. Every time you hit a certain revs, it's there, unless you have some sort of issues with it. And it's fun. You know, VTEC is fun. It's something to wait for, something to also that helps with like economy. So when you're out of VTEC, it allows you just to drive as if it was just a standard day-to-day vehicle. And then when you hit VTEC, it's almost like, you know, I wouldn't say like race mode, but you know, if you've not experienced it before, it's almost like, you know, when you're playing your Scalextrics as a kid and you press full throttle, you get the full power of the car. And that's kind of what VTEC is and why I like it so much. The next thing I really want to touch on these cars is the actual reliability. You won't get an engine with this kind of fun and power that requires so little maintenance. It does have a timing chain which should last the lifetime of the vehicle, as long as you've got it's been looked after, being well serviced, you keep your fluids topped up. You shouldn't have to change it. If for whatever reason you do ruin an engine, you can get one of these around £1,500, I believe. Maybe more, maybe less, dependent on where you get it from. But overall, these engines take a beating, and you can literally spend the minimum amount required to keep it ticking over. But obviously, the more you spend on looking after it, the longer it will last and treat you well. Now, what I'll also touch on these engines is the actual... when you get into this car and you start it up, you will straight away just feel that it is something totally different. And that is with all of the K-Series cars with the K-Series engines in. They almost feel like it was just made to be driven. Now, when I say driven, I don't mean commute A to B. It feels like it's something, when you turn it on, it is almost like you're on a motorbike. It's for fun and just driver enjoyment. And that is something else that I really think the Honda team did really well with this car. It's a practical car. It does get you from A to B, but when you turn it on, you just know that it is a fun feeling, an enjoyable, interactive car to drive. Okay, so let's talk about power. So it's 4-cylinder, which is pretty standard for most 2-litre engines anyway. Runs just short of 200 brake horsepower. Now, a lot of people, when you look at the figures, it doesn't look like an engine that actually has a lot of power. But the way that this car uses that 200 brake is like nothing else. They are so usable on the road. The only way I can kind of describe it is this engine has a 200 brake horsepower heart in the centre of it all. Let's say you were to get a similar car and it had a 400 brake horsepower on it. You're both going down the country lanes, you're having a lot of fun. This car is no less fun for the shortage of power compared to a lot of the other vehicles. You can use all 200 brake on the whole journey. A lot of your 400 brake horsepower cars, even 300 brake horsepower cars, if you were to imagine that there's certain parts of your journey where you have to take it easy, even if you're hooning it, you'd only be using, effectively 200 brake of that power anyway on most of the UK country roads. However, you wouldn't be revving out to the red line and having the same amount of fun that you can with these. You can really just wring the necks on them, and they are super fun at 200 brake. How Honda do it is being just described as magic. Another thing that I really want to kind of touch on with these cars is how easy they are to work on. Before owning one of these cars, I never had I wouldn't say I had a car that I would be able to just look up online, turn some nuts and bolts and fix the issue. Everything, all the mods you can do at home, even fitting things on the engine, like even if you want to service it yourself, you want to change spark plugs and all that kind of stuff, it's relatively easy to do, dead accessible. All the kind of components, dead easy to kind of look at, and it's another reason that for the money, what you kind of get out of these cars is like nothing else. Now, when you kind of get in, like this sequence to start your engine is something that a lot of people have complained about in the past, but it is a bit odd, but I kind of like it. Twist your key and start button. And what I love is I do actually love the way that it does idle on almost like a choke, so to speak, when you start it up around 2,500. And I do love the way that it sounds when it is kind of warming up and running. Right, now those are just a few reasons as to why I personally love the K20 engine, especially the one in the FN2. I think it probably is the softer version. You know, VTEC crossover is really smooth. They did make this car to kind of make it fit in a little bit more in the market at the time, which is why I think it requires, you know, a lot of flavour and a lot of taste of yourself and your own input to kind of make it yours. But a lot of people have said, you know, this car was kind of the, you know, the plain canvas for you to do what you want to do with it, and I think it is. So if I think of any more things, I'll add them in or I'll make another video. But all in all, I think pound for pound, Honda's K20 engine is, you know, the most fun, you know, reliable, kind of adaptable engine to kind of use now. And I think a lot of people are supercharging these things, turboing these things. Yes, you do hear horror stories, but majority of them, they are going strong even with the extra power, because they have been made so well. Right, so hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, I suppose give it a thumbs up or subscribe, and comment if there's anything else you want to add with why you like Honda's K20 engines. Keep it stealthy. See you on the next one.